Skipping the trust but verify saves so much time, by user Longwing. So it seems I'm back on the help desk queue again. I work for a small shop. We lost our T1 guy, and until we get someone new on board, we're all keeping an eye on the queue. I get a gem of a ticket from one of our frequent flyers. We call them lightbulb, because we'd like to swap the flickering component with one that's actually bright. This is a person who shouldn't be allowed to use a computer, so I always take a little extra care when dealing with their tickets. Hi IT team. This is an urgent request as it affects my daily job. File manager keeps crashing and not able to stay in files for very long. I've rebooted several times this morning. Includes unhelpful screenshot of open file folder. Please help. Thank you. $Lightbulb. Hi $Lightbulb. Thank you for taking this initial troubleshooting step. FYI, while one reboot is a great first step, if one reboot doesn't fix the problem then additional reboots aren't likely to improve the situation. I'm just letting you know so you can save yourself time in the future. I've applied a fix to your system. Now that I've made the change, I'd like you to reboot by following these specific steps. This is important for the fix to apply. Thanks. $Me. Internal help desk note. I've not made any changes. I'm just making sure that rebooted several times doesn't mean closed the lid and opened it again. If he replies back that the problem is still occurring then I'll do actual triage. Hi $Me. Thank you so much for your help. It seems to be working now. We'll let you know if any issues come back. Thanks. $Lightbulb. Great, I'm glad that fix worked. Since the issue didn't come back I'm going to mark this ticket as solved. Cheers. $Me. My boss saw the ticket and the updates. I thought he was going to tell me not to be so cynical towards our users, but instead we all had a good laugh about the outcome. I know they say trust but verify, but skipping past trust and right to verify saves a ton of time. Tell me you needed that server after we decommissioned it, by user Weebitski. Years ago, we had a project to get rid of zombie servers. Zombie servers, besides wasting resources, can be taken over by bad actors, but that leads to a tale for cybersecurity. Anyway, what would happen was that people would set up a server, then just forget to decommission it. We did an audit and took note of servers that were not being used and we communicated the best we could with the known server owners. After a couple of months, we removed the servers from the network. Then we let them sit for a couple of months. Occasionally a customer would say, "Hey, where did my server go?" And we tell them to keep better track of their equipment and put it back in service. But most of them were abandoned and we would decommission them. The number was in the thousands. Probably 10% to 20% of all the servers we had. One server got through this process, and we were in the process of decommissioning it. We had removed the disk array and were starting to wipe the disks. I think it was RAID 5. Lo and behold, the customer calls up all in a panic. Seems they needed that server once a year. And we're all like, "Gee, don't you ever read your emails?" Oh, also they did not have a backup. Real smart for a critical server that you use once a year not to have a backup. We found a company that could recover the RAID array. We removed the disk array from the server. From our scrap pile, we kludged together a couple of old computers with a RAID controller and connected them to the internet through a secure tunnel. This enabled the vendor to recover the data. It took them a day or so, but they were able to do it. The recovered data was copied to a USB hard drive. While the recovery was in progress, we rebuilt the server with a new array. We didn't want to touch the original disks just to keep our options open. We went to copy the data back to the server, but all the server had was a USB 1.0 port. It was going to take forever. Fortunately, there was a micro center a few miles away and one of the guys races over there before they close, because you always find you need stuff with minutes to spare. He got a higher speed USB card, installed it, copied the data back over to the rebuilt server, and got the customer back in service. My laptop's charger is defective, I need a new one, or, yes, everything is plugged in, by user Interesting Gear 819. Nothing fancy, minor story that just happened 10 minutes ago. We have a $user with a cheap dock and a few-year-old laptop since $user isn't working full-time and sometimes from home, you know. Kids and all that. The dock requires an external power supply for the laptop. Anyway, today $user is in the office. Gets a pop-up that the internal battery is down to 6% and obviously calls us, which is correct so far. Knowing $user and how often they plug in and pull out the cables, my first intention was to ask/check if all cables are correctly set/pushed in, hint, they were not. So $me asks $user to check if the cables are plugged in and if maybe someone pulled the cord/plug out under the table, maybe to charge his phone or so, happened. $user accepts, calls back a few minutes later that everything is as it should be. It's Friday, so I'm in a rather good mood and believe it. Pull out a new charger and start my journey. On location $user, saw the new charger and happily accepts the situation and leaves to talk to another colleague. I could hear the chit-chat and prefer that over users that look over your shoulders. Took a quick dive under the table, followed the cord, checked if everything is plugged in, it was, and at last checked the side of the laptop if it's plugged in too. It wasn't. It was halfway out. $user now believes they have a fancy new charger and I can close that case and had a few minutes of fresh air/walking. Win/win, I guess? At least on a good day, they all were not unfriendly like on some days. Photocopier won't print in color, by user Sanzi4. This is just a funny little one that happened today. I work as the only IT support in a small primary school. I was sitting at my desk when one of the kitchen staff, $chef, came to me asking me if I could help her to get the photocopier to print in color. $chef, I'm pressing the color button but it's not working. I think I already know what the problem is. Our photocopiers are set up such that, when configuring a new job, an extra step is required to enable color printing, just to try and discourage people from printing everything in color if it isn't necessary. Sometimes, members of staff who haven't been with us for very long or who just haven't really used the photocopier before need to be taught this. I get to the photocopier and quickly show her how to select color printing and have her press print. She reaches down to get her copies. $chef, no, it's black and white still. I scrunch my face in confusion and pulled her original documents out of the document feeder. They're black and white. I see the problem. $Sanzi4, oh I'm sorry, if your original document is black and white, the photocopier can't make it color. $chef, right, okay, I guess that will have to do then, thanks $Sanzi4. Dr kitchen staff thinks that our photocopiers can recolorize her documents. Can't access any network drives, by user throwaway 156469. Just had a ticket that took nearly a week to resolve that I still can't believe. I work for a third-party IT company, Company A. One of our clients, Company B, had an employee we will call C. I had just set up a new laptop for C to use after her previous one just decided to hit retirement early. I physically met her at their office, confirmed she could log in, confirmed she could map and access her network drives, then went on my merry way. Panicked calls the next day about how she cannot access her network drives at home. They use a third-party VPN to access on-prem resources, including Active Directory, which I know worked fine since I configured and tested it off-site prior to delivery. We couldn't even enter the direct name of the file share on the network. Nothing we were doing was getting her access to her network drives while on her home network. Then I finally managed to get this error: the domain controller could not be contacted for the authentication request. Check her network settings and yup, there it is. Her home network was using a non-standard subnet, for a home at least. Which happened to be exactly the same subnet as Company B's office intranet. The only reason we found out now was because upon giving her a new laptop, when her home router assigned her an IP address, it happened to give the exact same IP address as the domain controller. Her computer techie husband fixed their home network. She is fine now. But seriously, what are the odds?